Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Distance Lemma podcast. My name is Shaun, and I am back in Dublin. And this is Imran, and he is still in Thun, Switzerland. This is our long distance friendship podcast. This is the Distance Lemma, episode number 21. Imran, how are you, my friend?
Good. I'm good. The weather is ridiculously hot today. It's like 30 degrees. Again, no one will ever see this life in Switzerland as I'm still in the back cave with nothing on the walls. It kind of adds to the atmosphere though.
But
Like my t-shirt is not matching, but like, I feel like I should be wearing black and you should be wearing this because it looks bright at home.
I was in Switzerland and I didn't experience this weather.
Yeah.
It was such
I mean, a little bit on the Sunday, but yeah.
Yeah, we got a smidgen of it. I think it peaked at like 22, 23 degrees.
Yeah,
Or
like
something
around
like that on the Sunday. But I also came home with a massive bit of sunburn as well.
Yeah.
We on the Sunday, so we alluded to this on the live episode that we had to kind of change when we were doing it. We were supposed to do it on the Sunday, had to do it on the Saturday instead. Reason for that was on the Saturday it absolutely like pissed down, and I think we were originally planning to go swimming and do the lake stuff on Saturday.
Yeah.
We saw the weather wasn't going to be great, and we went out into the town, the four of us, and we got absolutely fucking pissed on. So, but it was due to be nice on the Sunday, so we had to pull the podcast together really last minute. So we went out, and because I was only me and Simone were there for 3 days, so we weren't bringing suitcases. So we had to bring. Obviously, you can't bring like big bottles of sun cream. So of course I had sun cream, and I'm that like person that's like really anal about wearing sun cream as well. Like I'm that person that's like going through a bottle every 2 or 3 days, like And yeah, I ran out of it at like 2 or 3 o'clock, and I was like, it's a bit cloudy, and it's been hotter in Ireland recently, and my back. Simone said brilliantly yesterday. I looked like a pokeball.
Literally. I think it was well because it was a big
Imran
cloudy.
got sunburnt.
That's how you know I'm losing my melanin. No, even I got sunburn, which is crazy. Cause
Like all four of us came home with some form of sunburn, because Nicola got burnt in her face, and got burnt in her chest.
Yeah, it was a bit uncomfortable to sleep for the first 2 days, but we survived. Yeah, it was funny because like the size of the bottle of the sun cream that you had, which is because it was obviously the 100 mils when you're taking through the airport. It was like ridiculously small, and like I was asking them, "Oh, could I borrow the sun cream?" Because I normally what I'll do is I'll do that and then I'll whip the oil on for an L tan. But I seen the bot when they whipped it out because they were like, yeah, grand. And we got to Strandbad, which is like the swimming complex that we were gonna swim in that day. And he whipped it out, and it was like it looked like a peanut in his hand. It was just tiny, and I was like, nah, it's gone. I don't need this sun cream. You're just gonna have it because I knew to them that they were gonna get sunburned to bits. Yeah, so the weather was a bit of, it was a bit of a struggle with over the corporate course of the days because he's arrived late on the Friday.
And it was nice on Friday, like it was really
yeah,
nice.
it was nice. Yeah, and we were chilling and stuff on Friday, catching up, having dinner and stuff like that. And then on the Saturday, then we did the podcast, but the weather was atrocious. And then on Sunday, then we went to the lake and just kind of chilled there. It was actually a lovely 3 days having us over because normally when we have guests over, it's kind of like running around back and front trying to show them all the spots. Where like I know this won't be the last time Shaun and Simone will come over while I'm living here, which is kind of nice. You know what I mean? And it was just nice to catch up and spend time, and we actually hadn't really spent that much time with Simone as well. And I was really happy that that we all got along. Like after the end of a trip when you can say, oh, like we can go on another trip together. You passed that test. Yeah.
It's like we've done that like in kind of like on two fronts because we were talking about like going away, not just to see yous again, but we've been talking about maybe the four of us going on a city break or a holiday or something together. And then like on the way home, me and Simone were also saying like I kind of said to Simone, I was like, oh, what do you think? Would you come back? And we were about like, yeah, we'd love to go. Like I genuinely really loved Thun. I think it's so nice. It's so peaceful. And it's pretty, and like everywhere you look is like a gorgeous view. Like it's crazy, man. Now maybe that's just because I live in Ballyfermot, and I'm looking at horses most of the time when I step out my front door. But still, like everywhere you looked, like I was even showing I was showing some of the guys in work yesterday when we were in the office some photos, and I was like, that's out his kitchen window, and there's a gorgeous ass mountain, and they were like, what the fuck, and it's such a nice place. It's just such a nice place. Like if any of our Algerian YouTube watchers want to go over and stay in tune, Imran has a place. Just drop him a DM. He'll sort you out. No bother.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know how you get used to it. Like, there's still times where I'd walk to the bus stop in the morning and I'm like just looking around and I'd look over the mountains and be like, that's right behind my house. Like, it's crazy to think
Mm.
that everywhere you look, there's like a view or a gorge or a waterfall. Especially when you travel out into Switzerland, it's crazy. It's a beautiful country now. But what Sean was talking about there was last week when he came over, we were looking at like our statistics on the YouTube channel, like where people had like been watching. We had a lot of people from Ireland, a lot of people from Switzerland, a couple of people from the States. What we were really surprised is we had like 2% of viewers were from Algeria. So if you'd like to express who you are, you can send us an email or text the Instagram page. We'd love to hear from you.
Love to hear from you.
Shout out to our Algerian brothers.
Yes, there you go. Could be your second cousins.
Never know.
There
Never
we
know.
go.
Maybe. There we
Yeah,
go.
it's such a one thing that really impressed me over there that like I absolutely loved was the public transport. The public
Yeah.
transport is so good over there. It's so efficient. Bit expensive now, won't
Yeah,
lie. Like
yeah.
you're paying for it, but it's efficient. Like nothing was late for us, and like I didn't say this to you, but like from when we left yours at the bus stop, we were
Yeah.
not more than 30 minutes waiting for anything until like from the minute we left you guys. So we obviously had to wait 30 minutes for our train, but the second we got on that train, we were not waiting more than like 5 minutes for anything right from Zurich to home, because we got to the airport, we got in, went through security, and we went and looked at a few shops, and then we went and got food. The food, like the airport, like food court was packed. We still both got our food like in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Went grand through security, no bother. And like then even when we landed in Dublin, again we'd no bags, so we were just flying out, and we walked out. The shuttle bus was parked at the bus stop as we walked out back to the car, grand. And because I drove to the airport, literally got off the shuttle bus, we were the first stop, so we were on the bus like less than 5 minutes. Into the car, straight home, straight to do the weekly shop. Shaboom, brilliant.
Yeah. That sounds like a sweet Sudley sailing trip, you know.
Yeah.
Return home.
I find this mad whenever I do this. Is like, do you ever get like when you wake up in a different country and you like go and do like a very mundane task when you get to another country? So like I was just thinking of like waking up in Thun, having breakfast with you guys, and like just chilling, finishing watching the film, finishing watching Identity Theft, and then like going and like I was like looking at my watch and it was like 7:30, and I was in Dunn's in Clondalkin. I was like, it's mad that this is the same day. Like, you know, I always find it mad when I do that sort of stuff with London. Like, there was a time, like 2 years ago, where I went over to see one of my mates in London, and like I went out. I went for like, I think I went for breakfast and stuff, and like I was out like doing bits in London that morning. I flew back to Ireland and went to a gig that night, and I was like standing and like waiting for the gig tomorrow. I was like, it's mad I was in London this morning. Like, this is crazy. Like, you know, like, do you ever get those like existential moments where you're like, this is like just really crazy? Like,
It's crazy how much you can get done in 24 hours. Like, I remember, for example, that I was going to Berlin a couple of years ago, and I was just started the PLC at the time, and me stupidly left like 3 assignments like last minute, and within them 24 hours, I like stayed up all night. I finished all 3 assignments. I went to college, handed in the assignments, went home, got changed, showered, went straight to work, went home after work, got changed, packed my bag, then went to Berlin, and then went to a gig that night in Berlin, all in the space of 24 hours. And you're like, how, like, some people spend their days like this every day. Like, there's people that are hopping from like city to city every single day because of work. You know, like either on a work trip or like, I don't know, maybe they're like a travel agency company worker. It's crazy that you can just get all that done within 24 hours.
yeah, was it Molly May who done that thing a few years ago where it was like you can achieve that you want in 24 hours when she's like a wealthy ass bitch being like, the game is not the same for you, babes.
No.
Right? Sorry, like you can afford to buy the plane. You're not like struggling to like fit your 10 kg.
I got some part of what she was trying to say, and she's saying like every single person. She said that every single person's the same 24 hours. Not necessarily true, But I mean, in terms of a time scale and work ethic, I think I kind of agree with her. Like, if you put your mind to something, you could probably get it done within 24 hours. Like, you could get a task done in 24 hours. I think that's what she was
Yeah,
trying to get at. But the way she came across, definitely, it was very,
yeah, for
like,
sure.
snobby celebrity, you know, if 24 hours, I can do whatever I want in them 24 hours. Like,
Yeah, totally. Like I get what she was like trying to say. She just executed it very bad. As she just like she didn't like take her surroundings into account as well, and her, like the advantage points that she had, you know, compared to most people.
definitely, definitely. I wanted you to tell people about what you told me about the dream you have before you go to visit someone. Because I just thought this was interesting. Like you were saying that
Oh yeah,
you have these dreams, or like normally you have a dream, like if you're leaving someone, or like if you're going to a different country, about like a thought or about someone that you're leaving. I don't know if you can speak on that. I thought it was interesting.
I think this was I think it was you guys had died or something like that, wasn't it? Or
Yeah,
was that what it was? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sean has essentially said that when he's going on holidays or he's like leaving someone, for example, like he was leaving his dog Xena at home when he was coming over to visit me for 3 or 4 days. He had like a dream that Xena had like passed, like
Yes.
or was brutally murdered. Sorry, brutally murdered as he was going to visit me. And he said like this is like a common factor, like when he's
Yeah,
when he's
sorry,
going.
sorry. I just was like, it's actually that much like it's that common for me now that like it's a shock the day of, and
Yeah,
then like after it's like it's that typical thing as well. You always forget dreams like the day after
yeah,
as well. So I was like, hold on a minute, yeah, I did say something about this, but yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's like a worry thing, or maybe like people just come back. Like obviously, you guys are on my mind quite a lot because I obviously speak to you every week, and
of course.
I love yous and I worry about yous and I like
Hmm.
root for yous and stuff like that. But like I don't know, there's just something about. I think maybe it's something got to do with like what I kind of touched on last week of like when like you're kind of preparing for something to go wrong, like even like let's say like it doesn't even have to be like you being abroad, like it can be when me and you both lived in Blanche, and like your bus breaks down or you miss your bus or you fall or you end up getting sick, like just like little things like that. I think like when you're going to meet somebody or when you're going to you know do something significant with them, it just brings those people to like the forefront of my brain, like while I'm thinking about you guys in the best regards. It's never like the forefront of my brain is like usually what's going on that day. Whereas,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
as we were kind of getting closer to coming over, that was starting to become the forefront of my brain.
Yeah,
This just
yeah,
might make me sound crazy.
yeah.
I might just sound nuts. But yeah,
No, there definitely is some science behind it. Definitely,
yeah,
why like people have dreams within certain situations, or like you were saying there, like leading up to an event. Like obviously, you're coming over to visit us. You were probably thinking about and talking with me on the phone, like when we were planning and organising the trip. It's like subconsciously in the back of your brain, and it's moving forward. I'd imagine like it's just moving forward like a clock more towards your frontal lobe when you're sleeping. That's when the dream happens. I don't know. That's science, guys. Science.
Inception shit.
Inception shit.
Yeah,
Can you
he's a
remember like one of the craziest dreams you've had? Like, is there any ones that like you can think of right off the top of your head like that like has stuck with you?
Yeah, I'm having current for the last like year. I've been having one reoccurring dream, which is a bit deeper. I'll get into that in like a minute. There's one crazy dream that I had when I was like 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that, and
Yeah.
I can remember it so clearly, being a dream, but it was like so I was out on my road at the time in Mulhuddart, and I was out playing, and I was just with one of my friends, and we were playing around the gate at the end of the road, and we were doing something. I don't know what. I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but we both got called in by our parents. So I was like, "Grand." Well, I say parent. Shout out to dad. So yeah, my mom had called me in, and I was like, "Right, grand." So, and then like there's like a cut, and all of a sudden I'm like in my bedroom, and then for some reason I'm not like on my bed. I'm like under my blanket in the corner of my room, just like sitting drawn or something like that. And then all of a sudden a lion walks into the room. Like not doesn't burst into the room, just casually just strolls into the room. And then
Okay.
it starts growling at me. and then I cop that it's a dream. And I go, oh, this is a dream. And what I done was I got my blanket and like covered my hand and like then just punched the lion, so the lion would bite it, and then it woke me up.
So you consciously came to light in your dream. And you
Yeah,
were able
yeah.
to
I had my inception moment
yourself.
where I knew I was
Yeah.
in the dream, like, you know.
Yeah, okay. And when you woke, was it like, okay, that was a dream? You know, that kind of way.
I woke up
Or was
with
it like,
it was a bit of a fright,
no,
like, because like I think
yeah,
I was expecting the pain of the lion biting
the
my
lion, yeah, of
hand,
course.
and then like I just kind of shut up, but it wasn't the same thing as like when you're falling and you wake up, like, you know, do you ever get that you wake up and you feel like
the
you're falling,
the
like,
shock factor, yeah, yeah.
it wasn't that, like, but it was a bit more of a ooh, like it more of like a general little fright than like a panic thing that you sometimes get when you wake up from one of those dreams or one of those sleeps, like, you know.
Yeah.
Have you had that super crazy?
Yeah, I had a reoccurring dream for years. I'd say from like 12 to 14, and I think I had it like definitely like 5 or 6 times, and I wrote it down in an old notebook eventually because like, I wanted to ask my mom about it. I was like really young at the time, and essentially the dream was, it was like New York City in like the 1950s, like, you know, like that old traditional where everyone's wearing like the suits, the round cap hats. Like that was a lot of times that during coming up to the end of the war as well. So, it's really like in the business district of New York, but the world has changed where dogs are living the human's life and the humans are pets of the dogs. But in their reality, it's the norm. Obviously, for me, it was like I've come to life. I'm like, why is everyone walking around? But like, it's not that like humans were on their hands and knees walking around. They were just like on a leash. It'd be like me having like you on a leash, but you're just walking around. You know what I mean? Like,
so were you in the position of the dog?
I was in the position. Yes. No, essentially, I had. Sorry, I don't know why I only caught that now. That was such a delay for me.
So, were you doggy in this dream?
No, it was a. This is not a sex dream. Let me specify this. Yeah. So I was a human dressed in like a suit, going like on my way to work, and like all these dogs were like, kind of like looking at me, being like, "Why is the pet going to work dressed in like? Where's his owner? Why does he have a suitcase? Why is he going to this business district?" It was kind of like a Wall Street kind of Wolf of Wall Street environment in terms of like that's kind of the atmosphere that was around, and I can't really remember much that what happened in the dream, but I just remember like this occurring over and over again. Like it was the same dream, and like I remember like writing it down like weird details was like all the toys were red, so all the toys that everyone was wearing was red, but mine was black. It was kind of like pops of color like popping out in the dream that maybe symbolized something, but I obviously couldn't tell you because who knows what goes on in your dreams. You know what I mean? Yeah. It would be cool, I think, like if you could like go back and like watch your dreams, but I feel also that would be kind of a scary thing to watch back because then you're seeing yourself not being in control. Because like essentially dreams, you're never in control of your dreams. You never really know what's going on. But I feel like if you were to watch it back, you'd have, I don't know, maybe like a deja vu kind of effect when you're watching it because you would like, I've lived this already. I don't know. But,
yeah, because have you ever had a dream where like it's like a play-by-play of something that's already happened to you?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. At least like once a month it happens to me. Like I had a deja vu moment, I'd say like 1 year ago, of you coming to visit me and us being at Stromba.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Yeah, but it wasn't like what I saw. Remember when when we were leaving the swimming complex that we were at, Shaun had went over to like the showers and he basically he was just taking a photo or a video of like the mountain view, and we were all laughing at him because we were wanting to leave and he was taking like 15-20 minutes and he looked like a poser, like he had the shades on, top off, and he was walking. But I had this vision, like a deja vu moment the other night, where it was like that had already happened a year before, like, but it was just you standing at that view with the mountain, and it wasn't until the other night when it happened again I had a dream, and it was like the same moment that happened over again. I'd already envisioned that a year before. But it wasn't like it wasn't me saying, "Oh, me and Shaun are going to be at the lake in Strandbad in town." It was just like I had seen you near a view of a mountain and the lakeside. That's
Yeah.
why sometimes I feel I don't really know
As
how
I
to
do tend to
explain.
be, that's where to be
Yeah,
sharing.
as you tend to be in Ballyferm, you know.
Costa del Valley Farm, as we like to call it over here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's mad.
It's interesting. Like I'd love to know if how our brains work in terms of dreams. Like maybe that's something to look into. But
That's
that's definitely for a night for YouTube or 4 a.m. kind
I
of
was
job.
going to say that's a video essay on YouTube sort of topic.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had like one reoccur. Well, I've had a couple over the years, but like the one that I've been having, and like the other ones have been like nothing ones. Like they've been like very like school based things or college based things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've been having one over the last I'd say like since September, and you might have a feeling where this is gonna what territory this is gonna end up in. But it's one about my mom. So for anybody that isn't caught up on my mom, my mother died last August, and I keep having dreams that she like. So basically, the dream will like start off the same every single time, and then like will get dropped into like whatever context I'm in like that week or whatever's going on in my life. But like the dream will basically start where like it was the day my mom died and I was in the hospice, and the events of that day occur as they did, and that's fine. And then like 2 days later, my mom just wakes up. Just was like, oh yeah, Grant. And my mom had stage 4 cancer, and like stage 4 cancer is like for in most cases it's a death notice anyway. And she was in palliative care for the last while. So like it was like made very clear to me like over the last like 2 months of her life, like she was on the last few weeks of her life. So that was grand. Went through that. And so like we'd get to that point of like, right, okay, we're planning the funeral, and she'd just wake up, and she would then continue to recover, and then like so it would get so the dream then would like pick up on like I actually had this dream in yours while I was in Switzerland, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I like had a dream that all that stuff happened the exact same, and then like all of a sudden we were in Thun, and like my mom just kept trying to ring me, and kept like giving out to me over thinking because my mom was always very in denial that she was going to die. She never like really fully came to terms with it, which is like fair enough. She was only 42.
A lot of people do.
So
Yeah, a lot of people
that's
do.
very fair, But yeah, it's always like that sort of thing. Like I had it a few weeks ago where like we were talking about her car because we've to sell her car and stuff, and like I had one where like she was like going crazy at me for trying to sell the car. She's like, oh, I'm going to drive that tomorrow. Like, what do you mean, blah blah. Like, just stuff like that. Like, that's the only like, well, no, sorry, it's not the only recurring dream I've had, but it's like the most like notable one that I've had. That's like, and it's obviously very current to what's going on in my life at the moment as well. Like,
I think dreams often are related to things you also try not to think about. I feel like when you're in them situations, it's hard not to get away without thinking about all the different avenues of like when you're told your mom has like stage 4 cancer, like what your brain would go to when you're thinking all them things. Like I remember when I was younger, my auntie was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and I remember I was like 11, and I remember like not going to school for like 2 to 3 days, and then the following months to come, it was like a thought process. You start like thinking all the different options of how that could go. Like, oh, could they die? Could they get really sick? Like, who's going to look after them? Do they need to go into palliative care? Like all these things that your brain automatically thinks because they're your family member, you care about them or whatever. It's I think in that certain like situation, you're already dealing with them things behind the scenes that I feel like it's hard for it not to come into light into your brain. That's why I'm presuming like your dream is consciously coming back up. I don't know what you think about that. Like if you think differently, but that's my take on it. I probably think that the dream is continuing because these are maybe things that you probably haven't come to terms with in your brain. Or I don't know. This is me like spieling with you. Like how I
Yeah,
perceive in the dream. Yeah.
because I was talking to my therapist about it, and like she was saying like a factor in it maybe has been like she was like to me if so at the time, when my mom was diagnosed, we didn't have a great relationship. Me, my mother, like we didn't have me and my mom never really had a great relationship. Um, and I hadn't spoken to her for a few. I think it was 2 years, 2 or 3 years before she got diagnosed, and she was kind of saying to me, if your mom hadn't been diagnosed, would you still, would you still have like made up for her? I said honestly, I don't think I would. I think if my mom hadn't been diagnosed with cancer, I don't think I would have been in contact with her at this point in my life. Maybe that would have changed in a couple of years, but I was just trying to be honest. Like I don't think it was, and she was saying like maybe because like I only ever really saw her like deteriorating in sickness, that like it's kind of a thing of like like my brain maybe hasn't fully come to terms with the fact she is gone because I spent a couple of years without her and not having her in my life and as such, so like that's where kind of like she was kind of implementing it, which makes sense to me as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think. I mean, there's no one else that can feel what you're feeling in them terms of, you know, the past year or past couple of years you've had. Have been a bit difficult on a personal level from like a friendship perspective. Um, there's no one else who can speak for you about what you think about your relationship with your mom was like and stuff like that. So I think, I mean, it's kind of nice now that you've gone to speak to someone about all the things that you experienced when you were younger. I mean, like you're not in the same boat. Just definitely things I probably should talk to you eventually when I get to it. But right now in my life, I'm not in the
Mm.
perfect situation to go down that lane. But I feel like you're making the correct steps to deal with some things that maybe you probably did get a chance to at a younger age. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Right, so
Respect.
that's a really bum note. So let's move on to the topic for this week, folks. Cool.
This is also a therapy channel.
Yeah. By the way,
Yeah.
like by the way, guys, as well, like I'm fine with it as well. I know my dreams say something different, but I'm like I'm fine. Like I've come to
But
terms.
before we move on to the next topic, have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
No,
No. Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering.
no.
I experienced
I've
it for a
slept
couple of
walks
years.
once or twice, but not sleep paralysis.
Oh, really? You slept walk? Did you did
Yeah,
you
once or
did you
twice.
do anything? Did you go downstairs or?
Yeah, I slept walk once here, I think, and then I usually do it when like I'm in like a new like when I've moved into a new environment. So, like something that we've alluded to is like me and you have both kind of like moved around quite a bit,
Yeah.
through our child and adult lives, so I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
usually a thing when I'm like it's usually a thing when I've moved somewhere and I'm kind of like getting adapted to my surroundings. Like I've learned like the layout, or like I've done it a couple of times on holidays where like I've been on like a longer holiday. Like if I've been on a holiday for 2 weeks, I've gotten up on like the 10th day and slept walk. It's I think it's more of an environment thing for
Okay.
me. But yeah, I done it once here, and like I've done it even like when I moved into when I moved into Eileen's, when I like stayed in my nana's for a couple of weeks when I was younger and stuff as well. Like it's just something that I've done, not like a lot. I'd say I've maybe like done it like 5 or 6 times in my life.
Mhm. And you're not, if I remember correctly, you're not meant to wake someone when they're sleepwalking. I
I
don't know
don't
if that's
I don't know
true
the
or
full
not.
details. I don't know if that's just like something that they say in film and
Yeah,
TV.
yeah, yeah,
But
TV,
like
yeah.
I genuinely don't know. I've not been woken up, or like I think like, I've woken myself up by like banging into something, or
Okay,
something
yeah.
like that. Like
And then you probably just come conscious for a second and then realize what you're doing and then go straight back to bed. Kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I experienced sleep paralysis 3 times when I was a child, and honestly, it still scares the shit out of me today. Like I spoke about it previously with Nicola last week, and even just talking about it, it freaks me out. But for anyone that has experienced sleep paralysis, essentially, it's like you feel that you're paralyzed from like the neck down, and you can't remove yourself from the bed, but your eyes are open, you are aware of everything around you, but you kind of find it hard to differ from what you think is reality and what is not. And for me, for example, like when I experienced that, I was like, about, I'd say 8 or 9 when it first happened, and I was living in Cavan at the time, and my bed was like a bunk bed, and my bed was really high up on near the ceiling, and I had this essentially a shadow figure of like my mother, um, but like just like at the outline, like if you were seeing it in the movie, you would just see like the black shadow of like I don't know, like a monster or something. Like you would just see that on the floor, for example, if you kind of get what I'm talking about. And that was essentially like at the bottom of my bed, and I could see it, like I could see it, and I was trying to scream out, like to call for my mom to come in because I'm only 8 or 9 at the time. My mom's next door. It's probably about, I don't know, 11 p.m., 12 p.m., whatever time kids go to bed at around when they're 10 or 9. And I could like I couldn't hear myself scream. It was like I was full voice trying to scream out for help, and I could see the shadow at the bottom of the bed like moving closer over time, and eventually the shadow like came up to like my neck level. And at this point, I'm trying not to look at it. I'm looking away. I'm looking at the wall, and the shadow comes up to like the eye level, and I'm looking at the shadow and I can't see like a face. I can't see a face figure. I can't see like a 3D object. And imagine it's like a 2D shadow above my bed, like above me there. And then out of nowhere, the shadow forms like a face, like kind of 3D face, uh, of something I've never seen before. I'm gonna say the closest thing I can say to it would be like a monster, maybe like out of Scooby Doo or something. I don't know. Like it's the only way I can think off the top of my head. And then it was just like echo. You ever see in the movies when someone shouts echo, you like see the 3 rings. These are the sound waves that you make when you're screaming out loud. It was like that had like flew past me over and over again. And I'm like, obviously I'm a child, so I'm screaming, crying, like just water coming out of my face. I'm like screaming out for help, but nothing is able, like nothing's coming out. I was able to like shake my body, like using my like neck or my shoulders to like force myself off the bed. And the fall isn't high; it's a bunk bed, so you know, like it's maybe 3 feet, 3 to 5 feet, and
If
it
you're on the
hit the
bottom of the
floor.
bunk bed,
If you're on the bottom of the bunk bed, sorry, yeah,
it's
yeah.
important to know.
Yeah, important to know. So once I fell, I instantly hit the ground, and like I kind of like was able to move again. I was screaming, crying my eyes, and obviously I'm telling my mom the story, but she probably thinks it's a dream. You know what I mean? And then this reoccurred. It happened again. Then once when I was like 13 and 15. But that first time, I still remember it to this day. Like it's like a memory that I'll never forget. And obviously not a good one, because really it was really scary. And I know a lot of other people that I've talked to about have had similar situations. There's always that meme going around now. It's like your sleep paralysis. Is someone working for the RTE and 9 a.m. talk show?
Yeah.
You know, like Eamon Duffy or something like that. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's a
interesting.
mad one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of people, like, I know you're not my only friend who's had it,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm very grateful that I haven't had it because it seems scary as fuck.
Oh man, so scary. Like it really is the closest thing I've experienced to something that's been like you've no control over your body, which is probably the scariest thing. You like your physical and your psychological is really weak. You don't know how to figure out what's reality and what's not. But yeah, terrific bright topics for this priest podcast,
Yeah,
guys.
I think the name of this episode has to be Sweet Dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we'll move on to the topic now before we either put someone to sleep or put someone into a mental hospital. Um, so, the topic for the week is what's the longest that we have spent with our partners and then, like, separated from them. And, like, that this isn't talking about, like, breakups, this is talking about, like, you know, like, holidays and then, like, gone separate ways or stuff like that. But me and you have very, like, kind of specific examples of, like, we've both been in situations where we've stayed with our partners for like a long bulk of time and then gone back to like our regular living situations, you know.
Yeah.
So like for me and Simone, my grandparents, they're retired now, so they holiday all the time, and we would just dog sit for them all the time. So that was great for us because you know we needed somewhere to, you know, get down and get with it, and and they needed someone to mind the dog, so that was great. So we would mind the dog. So like they went on a holiday that was like 3 months. So like we were like, this is fucking brilliant. But the only thing, and like this is great, and it's like so amazing getting to do that. But then I said, and I warned Imran because I know what Imran's gonna say. For him, this was, but I said to Imran when he was going, because I'm assuming he'll say when him and Nicola went interrailing. And I'd said to him before he got, I said, the second you guys get back and like you guys go back to your own beds, like you go back to where you're living and she goes back to her house, you guys are gonna struggle, and you're gonna want to stay with each other 5 days a week, and you'll want to move in. Like it'll just be like the next natural step, and I was proven right.
Exactly right. So we, like Shaun was saying there, me and Nicola went into Ireland for 3 months, and before that, I'd say me and Nicola have always lived fairly close to each other. The longest bit actually was when I lived in Dunboyne for 1 year, but Nicola was already going to college that year in Dunboyne in the PLC, so we were still seeing each other. Like it wasn't too bad, you know. We've never been like longer than an hour drive away from each other, no situation like that. So it's always been nice to see each other. But we'd only see each other, I'd say maybe twice a week, maybe twice a week at max, because you know you're working night by GA at the time. You're both busy. You want to see mates as well, so maybe twice a week. And then we went into Ireland for 3 months, and then after into Ireland, and when I returned back, to Darius, who was the guy I was living with at the time, it was like I was staying over at Nicola's like 4 to 5 times a week, like, or we were going back and forth. She stayed over mine a couple of times. I'd go to hers. It's just, I feel like your relationship automatically makes that next step once you've spent, you know, I'd say over that 1 month period together, and then for you then to go from that environment then back to the working 9 to 5, you know, you're back with not living with, you know, you see each other less, and like you were saying there, you're not sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah, man, sleeping in the same bed with your partner is just like the best thing ever.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
Like I love the fact that like we're doing this now, and I can log off the computer and I'm gonna go upstairs and Simone's just up there chilling. And it's not even like a like sexual thing. It's just generally like a comfort thing. Like you feel feel safe and you feel like warm, and like you just like it is good vibes all around. Whereas like when you're not in that situation, I feel like when like you go back to the kind of separate thing, it's like it amplifies everything that you like love about them. And like the little, everybody's got like pet peeves about people, and like you might, you know, everybody, I don't care what anybody says, everybody has something about their partner that, like, you know, either annoys them or wrecks their head, or,
Of course.
you know,
It's
everybody
normal,
has
human.
little things. I do things to Simone does things to me, and sometimes you tell them, sometimes you don't. Like, you know, it's part of being in a relationship, like, you know. But like all those things seem so minute when you're not in the same bed together at night.
Yeah,
You know,
of
it
course.
makes you appreciate like what you have so much. And I think it's something like I would recommend like everybody try and move in, or like try and do some sort of like living together scenario. Like obviously it's quite hard to like just say, oh yeah, just move in together in the current economy,
Yeah.
like, you know. So like
Yeah,
I
of
get
course.
that's not an easy thing to do, but like it will really like test your relationship in terms of like like living together as well. While it's great, you know, it does bring up like challenges as well, like, you know. And like it's lucky me and Simone, like it just like fit like a glove, like it just went so naturally, like, you know. But that's not the case for everyone, like, you know. I love to do things Simone hates doing, and vice versa. Like Simone hates cooking, I love cooking, so I just do the cooking, and like it's not like a chore for me
Yeah.
in that way, you know. Whereas like Simone loves to do the washing. Now, like I do the washing as well, and likewise Simone does cook as well. But like, you know, I enjoy doing it. Simone enjoys doing the washing, so it doesn't ever feel like a chore to like be like, oh, will you do that, or to leave it to kind of to leave it to them in that way. Like,
You're
you know,
more
as well.
inclined. You're more inclined to do it. Is what you're. I think
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're trying to
yeah.
get at. Like
I'm not, I'm
you
not
would.
like being sexist, being like, yeah, she's the one who did the washing. Like, you know, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
He's getting the belt outside his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, yeah, like Sean's trying to say there is every like person you're going to live with anyway, besides if it's not your partner, you're going to have differences. Like that's just humans in general. I think people make it a bigger deal when it happens with your partner. People are like, oh, like, oh, do you bicker and all that. Like, some people want to know if you bicker or what issues you have living together. But again, like we said, like, they're kind of private. You want to keep that with it. Well, I fully believe that you should keep them things within your relationship.
Yeah, of
You know what I
course.
mean? It's between you two. It's, I think, the more information about your relationship you keep to yourself, the better and more healthier it is. I feel like a lot of people like to hear, you know, like, arguments and problems within relationships because people love the bitch and people love the bicker. That's just
Mm.
natural as humans. I think people like to hear the goss, as we say. But I feel like it's nice when you go from an environment of, like, living, like, for example, like, we stayed with each other for 3 months, then we went back to living with Dari, or I went back to live with Dari, she went back to live with her parents, and then we went from that then to moving to a different country. And then even when we moved to a different country, to Switzerland, our plan of, you know, living together wasn't the safest exit. Like, we hopped from apartment to apartment for months. Then we ended up living with, shout out to Melina, one of Nicola's friends from college, and we lived with her for 2 to 3 months. So that was another person we were living with, and then we only recently got settled last October, where we finally moved into our apartment together. So, like, we've had a kind of up and down experience, and we've gone through the whole, you know, personal space battles and, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of situations that you've been in. But like Shaun says there, it's being able to hop off this podcast and then just go spend time with my girlfriend straight away instead of having to, like, you know, ring her, hop in the car, pick her up, you know, having to go through all that process. What time does she have to be home at? Is she going to be in work tomorrow? You know, it's a luxury. It's a
Yeah,
luxury.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I think you were saying like there about like people like wanting to almost like know about dirty laundry or like about
Mm.
gossip and that sort of stuff. I feel it's more of a reflection on the person who's like looking for that information. I feel like it's a thing of like they're almost looking for the negative aspects of your relationship to justify the negative aspects of their relationship. Like they want to like try and find a link somehow and like try and justify like some form of like I don't think bad behavior is the right term, but like some form of some like maybe like something that's just is making them unhappy in their relationship, like so like that
Mm.
could be an element of it as well, like
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong, you know, talking to your mate and asking for advice. Like, do you experience this in your relationship? If that's a personal conversation with you, I don't. I have no issue with that. But I mean, like, when you're in a couple environment and someone's asking, like, what negative things do you like about this person? I feel like you're just trying to create non-needed chaos or non-needed behaviors for everyone around. Not
which
that
is
we
why
experienced that when Shaun and Simone were over. We had a lovely time, guys. It was great.
it's the one thing, like we've never ever had a fight over anything. Like we've don't get me wrong, we disagree on some things, but like you're never ever gonna find somebody you like 100% agree on with everything, and it'd be boring if you did as well. If you had
Yeah,
somebody that like bowed to everything that you said, you'd go nuts quicker if they agreed to everything. Like um,
literally.
yeah. Don't get me wrong, we've had like disagreements, but like we've never argued or fought or like had that like that. Luckily, like that's why like yeah, I'm just super grateful for her, like and it's why like I I just love every night just being able to go up and just go to bed and just yeah feel safe, like
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing about relationships. They're really much highs and lows, and like, I mean, I've been with Nicola 8 years. Like, when we've been through a lot of stuff that other people like will never know about as well. Um, but it's like it's funny just to look back and think about where you've come from, like the start of the relationship to where you are now. Because like we were kids when me and Nicola got together. Like, I'd only gone 17, and Nicola um was, I think, about like 6 months later when 17 as well. So like we were really young when we first met, and like we're still really young now. I'm only 25, but it's funny to look back and think about all the experiences we had together, and like thinking like I met Nicola at a party. You know what I mean? Like, I knew of her, but we met at a party, and that's how we kind of got in connection, and the rest is history, kind of thing. But it's funny to think back, like, what our relationship was like at the start, and then look where it is now. And it's nice, like, to look back and that kind of thing, and like see where he's come, and like you look to the future and stuff like that. Like, these are stuff, like, things that you probably at a younger age would have never thought of, But then once you get a bit more mature and you start realizing what's important, especially in relationship sense, like it's nice.
I've been finding like over the last like year that I'm not like I'm not like and you know this well about me as well. Like I'm not somebody who like watches a film and like will not cry. Like I'll cry if there's a sad scene at a film. Like I'll cry gladly. I don't care if it's an ugly cry or whatever like that. But like I find I'm getting like a lot more emotional around scenes got to do with couples. You know, like and like when it's like tragedy with couples. Like I was watching an episode of a TV show earlier, and the guy had to make a choice between like basically the wife had gone into surgery or like she was sick in some way, and he basically had to make a choice of like, do you save your wife or do you save the baby, like because if you save the baby, the surgery that will save the baby will kill your wife, or if you save your wife because she'll be in surgery, the baby won't get enough oxygen and the baby will either die or it will be like severely like disabled when it's born, like so it was like a horrible choice, and I was just like sitting there going, Jesus Christ, like imagine like because like shit can happen, man. Like if life has taught me that over the last 2 years, shit just happens. Like life doesn't stop for anyone.
You've no control over it.
You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, like and it just like it really like I wasn't sitting there crying, like but I was in deep thought, and I was like I was on the cusp of becoming like like quite visually emotional over it, just because I was like, Jesus Christ, imagine having to like make a decision, make that decision one between like your wife and your child, but like having to be the one that like is like making such a heavy decision for your partner's life, like it was just like my biggest fear is like something happened to Simone, like it's just
it's definitely, and it's the crazy thing in them situations, like because you see it on TV and you see in the movies, and I think people like forget that this actually happens to so many couples and families. There's so many complications that happens with giving childbirth as well. It's it kind of makes you feel grateful for your situation that you're in now. Like just the luxury, like we were saying, like just be able to go up and see your partner. Just it's cases where people have to deal with immigration and like you're saying there, giving childbirth is another issue. Like there's so many, you know what I mean? So count yourself lucky, I suppose.
Yeah, and like something that like scares the crap out of me as well is like Jared, like I and like this can like similar to what you said, like this isn't always like somebody's fault, or this isn't always like somebody's like a result of something. This can just be a thing of like life happening. But like I've heard of people that are in like, and obviously this happens, and it's not like the most uncommon thing in the world, but I've heard of like people like being together like 10 plus years, and then just one day just saying it's just the relationship has run its course, like and that like that fills me with dread. Like to think about me and Simone, like that fills me with a lot of dread, just because like I don't right now in my life I don't see myself being with anybody else for the rest of my life.
Yeah, for her, yeah.
But like, and I'm just like, because like I say, it can be and it can be something like somebody has to move away, or someone gets sick, or a small thing, domino effect, and something happens. Like it can not be like it doesn't like every relationship breaks up because somebody cheats or because somebody lied about something. Like sometimes relationships just run their course, and that like to think about that, like it's really sad, like to think about that, like I don't think it will happen with us. Like I cannot, like I said, I cannot see myself being with anybody but Simone for the rest of my life. And I think
it's sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, sorry, I'll wrap up on this. But like I kind of feel as well, like if we like were to get to old age, as well, like once like if Simone's time was to come before mine, that's probably my time as well. Like I can't see any life without her.
Yeah, Nicola often says that as well. Nicola often says that too.
Suicide pact, guys. Here we go.
Yeah. I'll finish all this before we finish the podcast. Matthew McConaughey did a podcast a couple of months ago, and he was asked the question. He's been with his wife for years, and like asked about, and it's just something I've been thinking about over the past while. It's like, how do you keep your marriage happy, and how do you stay in love with a person for that long? It's like every year we develop something new personally about ourselves. So, every year you aim to be a better person, you aim to develop yourself. That's, essentially that's like the meaning of life, make connections, make new friends, do better for yourself. He said his concept is when you first met your wife or your partner, you were a person then 2 years later you were a different person, then the next 2 years you were a different person. Then essentially each time is like a chapter of a book. You've got to learn to love each person as they develop over time, because like I'm not the same guy Nicola fell in love with when she was 17. Nicola isn't the same person that I fell in love with when she was 17. So it's like learning to love each other as you get older, but learning that each chapter is a new development of that person's life. It's just an interesting way of looking at it. Like,
Yeah, like
obviously, as well, like to think like you're definitely not the same guy I became friends with.
Mm.
At the start, and I'm probably not the same person that when we first became friends. It's not just as a relationship thing I'm looking at it, but I'm thinking you can look back on it as now, because like for example, Nicola's gone to a wedding today in Greece, and she only met this person, the person that's getting married 8 months ago, but she says to me that she has a better relationship or friendship right now with that person than some maybe people that she's grown up with. It's that's what I mean. Like time is not everything. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
yeah,
As I'm getting older now, like especially either that being relationships or friends, like you were saying there, sadly do some relationships just end up fizzling out, and it's sad. But I think life works its way out in the end. Yeah.
we'll wrap up on this point as well, but like it's something that we have said before on the podcast as well. Like when we first met, you didn't like me at all. Again, I don't blame him. I was a fucking wrecking the head. Don't blame him for that. But like, it's crazy that like, even as well, Jack as well. Like you guys both would have not. You didn't like I was in the same. Like I know Jack didn't like me, and I know you didn't like me. And it's not because like this is like I should probably point as well. Like I wasn't like a cunt. I was just really annoying. I was just a wreck. I was a real like in your face, wanted attention, wrecking the head when I was like 13, 14. But then you just develop, and sure, look at us now.
Exactly, and that's just not just like our friendship, but that's like every person in general. Life just develops, and that's just the way it is. Like Shaun was saying there, life can just happen real quick. You don't know what's gonna happen. And
what's the quote from Fearless Bueller's Day Off? Life comes at you pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you'll miss it. That sort of thing,
Yeah, great movie, by the way. Great movie.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good note to end this week's podcast on.
A deeper one, but a nice one.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that little chin wag, if I do say so myself. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Distance Slam. This is episode number 21, the first one after our live episode. If you haven't given that a listen, you should really go back and listen to that. It was great to be in the same room. You can even watch it on YouTube as well. I'll just do a quick plug of our social channels. We have our YouTube channel, we have our TikTok and Instagram. So if you're not following us there, please go over and drop us a follow there. But yeah, this has been the Distance Lemma. I'll hand you over to Imran. Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Yeah, like Shaun said there, you can reach us at all of our socials. It was lovely having Shaun and Simone over last week, and thanks so much for the support, guys.
Okay, thanks. Chat to you next week, Monday, 7 a.m. Irish time, isn't it?
Yeah, Irish time.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, guys. See you later.